Hi there, this is Rob from Rob Clayton Photography. Hope you're all well during these weird times. I just thought you may like to see my kind of thought process that goes on when I'm editing a picture and the kind of things I'm thinking about, the tools that I'm using, etc. So this is a picture that I just took on my little baby girl's play table. It's just a couple of her toys. I'm sure you all recognise the characters. I'm big Pixar fans in this household. So the first thing I should say is that I'm using Lightroom 5. There are more up-to-date versions, but I like this, so I'm not one to change if I don't need to. Second thing I'll say is that when I took this picture, I took it in RAW format. If you don't know the difference between a RAW format and a JPEG, it's easily Googled, so I'm not going to bother going into the technical details of that. But essentially, this is the picture straight out of camera, exactly as I took it. I'd used an auto white balance, the in-camera auto white balance, so it's exactly as it looks from camera. So the first thing that I always do is just straighten it, and you can use the guidelines of the actual the crop tool itself in Lightroom just to make sure it's all nice and straight. First thing I do always. I'm just going to lift the brightness a bit. Now his face is looking very orange, especially if you look at around Buzz's. It's just a bit too orange for my liking, is what I'm saying. So I'm just going to make it a little bit colder, which makes it actually a bit greener as well. So I might just push up the purple a bit. There we go. I think the colour's just a little bit better there. This is how you can see it before and after. So I often do this. I often flip between the before and afters just so I can compare the two and see how they look. So I'm quite happy with that. It looks about right to me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the highlights just a little bit, just to see what it looks like. Bringing down the highlights brings out more details, and I'm going to push the white again. Again, you can go too far, which is obviously there. Yeah. May just lift the shadows a little bit as well. You see the difference between that where it's very dark. There is a bit too much. Actually, to be honest, I quite like that. So I've lifted the shadows all the way. What I am going to do is I'm just going to darken these areas here because this is just a bit of a distraction in my eyes. So all I'm going to do is put a graduated filter on it and bring down that black. Again, I often refer to this area here, so if I just do that again, if you can just keep an eye on this area here, it makes quite, you see the difference it makes. There you go. So again, it just keeps the focus on these guys down here. Okay, I'm just going to push the black a bit more. Again, it just helps with it, make it a bit more dramatic and maybe increase the contrast just a bit more. Right, so this has actually made it a bit warmer again. So I'm just going to adjust. There we go. Now, if I look up here, one thing that's really quite obvious is that Buzz is quite bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a radial filter on it. I might just bring the highlights down for now and see how that looks. Okay, that's far too much. So you can see he's mostly highlights. So just to around there should do it. Again, if I refer up here, it's not too sticking out. Again, I'll just bring that down to 0 so you can see. If I just bring it to about there, it's not so hot and he's not distracting your eye too much from Mr. Incredible in the front there. He'll be most upset if you took the attention away from him. What I also notice is there's quite a lot of purple. Now that could be chromatic aberration, which is just something that happens with all cameras really. Okay, so using the Lightroom chromatic aberration didn't really source it out that much. So I'm just going to go up here. This is where the colour saturations are. Can't even figure out which colour it is. It looks more red. but I'm not going to affect the red because it's Mr. Incredible that would be most upset. What I'm going to do again is just use the a local adjustment brush just to raise the exposure on all of this. I'm going to lift the shadows as well in a second, just so we can see Mr. Incredible a bit more. Okay, lifting the shadows did absolutely nothing. Wow, this is so. I've now gone 3 stops over. That's pretty incredible. There you go, pretty incredible for Mr. Incredible. How about that? However, I think it's good. I can push it even more. However, pushing it more, I might just be careful not to lose the contrast. So I might just give the contrast a boost as well. Let's zoom in and have a look. So here he is. You see the little mark there? So I may just get rid of that because it's not doing anything. I'm not sure it's supposed to be there. But that sorts that out. Yeah, that's fine as far as I'm concerned. You can see a bit of noise around here on the belly, but I don't think it matters. It looks like texture on the actual metal itself, to be honest. So that's looking pretty good to me. I might just let's have another look at the before and after. One thing I think I will do is just give the vibrance a bit of a boost. In fact, I'm going to actually just drop the saturation a bit because I don't want to overwhelm with the colours, but I do like the punch of a vibrant picture. Try and say that 3 times fast. So again, let's have another look. Yeah, it's looking good. Might make Sully a little bit brighter, I think, just so he can kind of more match Buzz. Not quite as bright as Buzz, because obviously Buzz is white and he's not. But again, I'm just going to put a radial filter on him. See what that does. Just want to be careful not to get too much of Mike Wazowski's eye. I think that's looking pretty good. What I might try is I've got a few various sets of vignettes. Vignettes just to kind of draw your attention into the picture again. It's looking pretty dramatic, I think. So again, let's have another compare. Yeah, I think that's good. What I might do is just bring these highlights down a little bit more, just a touch. Not too much, because otherwise it's going to look a bit funny if you do too much. Let's try just -20 to -18 for now. And again, just looking up there, that's where I always look to. That's how it starts. I think that's a nice touch. I'm almost tempted to just bring a bit more detail out in Woody as well. I'm going to go straight to 2 because I already know that this was about 4, plus 4 stops. So I reckon I can push this a bit more as well. This is plus 2 stops at the moment. Just to bring the detail out a bit more in his legs and his boots. Maybe even his face, why not? Okay, now I'm going to... There we go. I think we're pretty much done. Boom. Finished. So there you go. So that's the kind of thing that I have in my head. Sorry, one more thing. He's still looking a little bit too purple for my liking. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the tint slightly to a slightly more green around him. Oh, sorry. Alright. I'm going to reset that. Oh no, I reset all of them. Alright, let's undo that. And we can just take the exposure off. So you can see if I go all the way to the green, it goes too green. I can make him much more purple as well. Well, I want to be just so it looks white. There we go. And I'm just going to have a look at the highlights one again, just to maybe bring the highlights up just a touch more. Because if you bring the highlights off too much, you can end up looking just a bit dirty, to put it bluntly. And again, I'm just going to, just on the arms here, on the sides, and here as well, I'm just going to lift the exposure slightly. Again, it's only a small touch. If you have a look up here, you get a nice idea of just the little touches it makes. It's nothing huge. I can go a bit below. You can really see I can spend ages messing around, just little touches all the time. In fact, I might do that just a touch more, lift the whole exposure, and then just drop the highlights, because when I'm lifting the exposure, the highlights are just getting slightly blown. And it allows me to just push the contrast again a bit more. Let's do another compare and contrast. Okay, so I think we can see the colours look much better. There's a lot more detail when you look at them. All in all, I think I'm quite happy with that now. You could say it's Facebook ready. So there you go. So that's the kind of thing that I think about when I'm editing a picture. The kind of things that go through my head and what I'm looking out for. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm quite happy to do more of these if you find them interesting. So again, do let me know. And yeah, it's been a pleasure.